Happy May Day. It is finally spring in Boise, Idaho. It's beautiful here. All the flowers are blooming. The trees have blown up. There's blossoms everywhere. It's beautiful. And it's blown up my nose at the same time. Allergy season is here. But we're going to struggle through this. If I cough or gag a little bit, that's why I'm trying to get through allergies, but we'll make it. So today is May Day for another reason in the industry. There have been a lot of phone calls. I've received a few phone calls from past clients and from real estate agents that are asking about the new LLPAs, loan level price adjustments is what LLPA stands for, that have go into effect today, May 1st, for conventional loans only. Doesn't affect FHA, VA, or RD, by the way, but conventional loans, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the FHFA, the Federal Housing and Finance Administration, the agency that oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, has all lenders and banks across the country putting these into effect today for all Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac conventional loans. So these new LLPAs, at first, there's this heat map that I have here, right? That shows your new versus old for purchases and where the improvements are in the underlying pricing and those areas where it's not an improvement. So what an LLPA is your baseline improvements, your baseline adjustments based on down payment and credit score combination. These have always been there. There are always LLPAs. However, they just made some adjustments at the government side to favor those with lower scores and less down payment over those with higher scores and more down payment. I don't like it. It doesn't feel fair, right, to those who have really prepared themselves with good credit and more down payment. It looks like it's penalizing them in favor of those who may not be quite as prepared or ready for a mortgage. So we'll see how this plays out. Now, before you jump to conclusions and say, hey, you can get a better interest rate if you have a low down payment and a low credit score than if you have a high down payment and a high credit score. That's not true. In almost all scenarios, that's not true. In fact, I did some pricing comparisons this morning just to see. All right, so I checked out, okay, if you had a 640 or 660 credit score and 5% down compared to a 760 or 780 credit score with 15 to 20% down, is the rate better? If you have the lower credit score and the lower down payment? And the answer is no, it's not. You still have a worse rate. So that's not true. So if you're afraid that it's so unfair that if you have poor credit and low down payment, you're going to get a better rate than somebody who's more prepared with more down payment and a higher score, that's actually not true. But what is true is that these baseline loan level price adjustments are benefiting those who have lower scores and less down payment more than those who don't, right? As you can see, if you have 620 to 7 or 720 to 759 credit score and 15 to 20% down, you're actually getting hit, right? So your pricing is actually worse than it was a month ago, right? Last month for the same scenario. But if you have 5% down and a 640 or 660 credit score, your pricing is much better. Now, by the way, this does not reflect a percent. For example, you look here at 1.25%. It's not saying you get a 1.25% better interest rate. That's not what it's saying. This is on the pricing side of things. This is basis points. Okay. So basis points are far different than that. Basically 100 basis points or 50 basis points usually equals about an 1/8% in interest rate. 100 basis points, about 1/4% in interest rate. So what you're looking at here is 50 basis point difference when it says 0.5%, for example, right? So it's not like you're saying, okay, well, you got huge interest rate changes. That's not the case. But on the pricing level, underlying pricing level, there have been improvements if you have less down payment and lower scores. There are also some improvements even if you have higher credit scores and low down payment. So in some cases, you'll want to talk to your lender. Hopefully your lender is me, obviously, but if it's not, talk to your loan officer and say, okay, run some scenarios for me. Would it be better off for me to put 20% down now to buy this house or only 5% down? If I only put 5% down now, maybe in the next 2 to 6 months, I can chunk down the rest of it and do what's called a recast. It's not a refinance, it's a recast, meaning that you have the ability with many servicers and lenders to put a chunk of money down, at least $5,000 to $10,000, one time during the 30-year mortgage time period or 15-year mortgage time period for the fixed rate mortgage, and the servicer will decrease your payment to match up with the new lower principal balance. Right. So if you put 5% down now and another 15% down 6 months from now, they'll drop your payment at that point. So the bottom line is if you believe that you might be able to get a better interest rate by only putting 5% down than 20% down, let your loan officer, let me run the numbers for you, and we'll let you know if that makes sense based on the new LLPAs from starting today. If it does make sense, then I may recommend a recast in a few months and do a 5% down now and just put more down later. You still get the same better interest rate that way, and your payment matches up with the lower principal balance once you put the additional cash down. Okay, hope that makes sense. If not, please reach out to me. You can catch me at 208 939 0002 or email me, bzimmerman@summitmortgage.com, and I'll respond right away and we can talk about it. So that's what's going on with the LLPAs that you're hearing these rumors about. Okay. So again, you're not going to get a better interest rate because if you have a low credit score and less down payment, but you might get a better interest rate if you have a high credit score and low down payment compared to a high credit score and large down payment. So we'll do the math on that and help you understand it. Let's take a look at pricing today so you can see what's going on. So as you can see, we've had a up and down the past week here. We're still in the same range. We had a good PCE report inflation report last Friday that the Fed really pays a lot of attention to, that core inflation report. That one doesn't get as much headline notoriety from the markets because it really just kind of reflects the consumer price index from a few weeks earlier. But over the next week and a half, we're going to have another consumer price index and producer price index report showing if inflation is coming down at the consumer level and at the wholesale level. And if so, the anticipation is that we could continue to see an improvement breaking through these Fibonacci levels and 200-day moving average here with pricing. If we get pricing up there in this stratosphere area here, that's an improvement to interest rates. And so we'll be watching that closely and keep you informed.